It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and TanMan.
Hello everyone out there, welcome in to another episode of The Border War. I am the TanMan, I'm here with BG. We are ready to break down some NFL football, but before we do, we want to make sure we pass along our appreciation for your listening and downloading of episodes. The numbers are shooting through the roof. We may not have won the war yet, but we certainly are taking a chunk out of the battle against crappy radio.
Let's be fair. The crappy local radio guys are doing a pretty good job defeating themselves. They just need a little nudge over the cliff.
I was going to say, they're kind of teetering on the edge there. I meant to tell you while we're on air, I'll tell everyone, the local fantasy show I told you about.
Yes.
The other week, not this week, last week, I think I was working, so that's when I had it on. You know how he was doing the show? A radio man, a professional radio.
Someone who is being paid a salary.
Getting paid, I assume. My man was doing the show over the telephone.
He's by himself over the telephone.
I guess he had someone in studio, but the whole show he's doing it on the telephone.
He has someone in studio running the board, but he's the only one talking, and he's on the phone.
Pretty much.
Amazing.
Like I said, we've done that, but...
We've done that when we had no choice, but again, we're not being paid.
Yeah, they did an actual show on the actual radio over the telephone. I meant to tell you the other week when I heard
I think if you and I were in a situation like a few weeks back when I had some family illness going on and I couldn't do the show and you had to do the show by yourself, if you couldn't have done it any other way but over the phone, we just wouldn't have had a show that week.
I think we've done that.
It just would have to happen. I'm not willing to if it comes to that, we don't deserve to have a show.
No.
Like that's
like I said, numbers are through the roof. It's all because of you guys out there, so thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Small hearts, but thank you.
Maybe you have a small.
We had an argument this week over text about whether both of us are jerks, and I think both of us think the other guy is a jerk. So maybe we both are.
No, here's the difference. I can admit I'm kind of a jerk.
I think I'm a really nice person.
And then people that know you think the opposite.
Both of my friends would disagree with you.
BG, week 1 of the NFL football is now, well, not officially in the books. We got a couple more games tonight, as our picks list will attest to. Not that you should be paying any attention to how the picks list has gone this week for you, but what are your overall thoughts? I know we get the preseason, that's not really the same.
Trey Wingo said it best this morning. It is overreaction Monday.
Yes.
That's what we do after 1 week. That being said,
so 1 week, give me an overreaction.
Clay Travis had an excellent extra point, kind of conflicting opinion that, well, there's only 16 Mondays in the whole season, so these games do count. This is, 10 NBA games. I mean, it does matter.
Give me an overreaction.
An overreaction.
Give me an overreaction.
Okay, an overreaction is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are back, and Fitzpatrick's the best quarterback in the NFC South, and the Saints are not going to make the playoffs. That's an overreaction. But I don't agree with that.
Yeah, so you don't think...
That's the overreaction.
You don't think the fighting Fitzpatrick's down there? You don't think he's...
Look, I love
James
Ryan
Winston?
Fitzpatrick. I think he is the best example of... And quite honestly, you look at a performance like that and you wonder, like with some of the guys that are out there starting, how this stuff happens, right? How are these guys... We talked about A.J. McCarron for years. Like, how do they not know he could go out there and throw for 220 yards? I mean, like, if you look at... We'll talk about this later, but Alex Smith is a perfect example. Kirk Cousins is a perfect example. These guys are not setting the world on fire, but they're very adequate quarterbacks. And, like, you wonder why he bounces around so much. And for everything you hear, he's a great locker room guy.
He bounces around because he'll have games like this where he was fantastic, and then he'll have 4 games where he is absolutely terrible.
And I tell you, the real thing, too, is that he got in his head up in New York that he wanted to get paid. Remember Brandon Marshall had the whole campaign to keep Fitzpatrick. And, but, I mean, at the same time, there are guys that have been starting consistently throughout the league, like Sam Bradford and Tyrod Taylor, who have 4 bad weeks in a row, too.
Well, I tell you one overreaction that I hope is an overreaction is a lot of the shade being thrown the way of the Atlanta Falcons. And a lot of it's kind of deserved. And by now, that game was Thursday, so it's several days old now. But
disappointing red zone performance.
Right, we haven't been on the air, so we'll hit on it.
Same thing happened in the playoff game in Philly last year.
Yeah,
it just red zone struggles, and so the Falcons, for all the talent they have on offense, they're getting a lot of flack about.
And then you have multiple plays in the red zone without Julio Jones on the field, and I know the old adage that these guys know more about football than blah blah blah. But I mean, I don't.
Okay, I get it.
I know more than that.
Well, I get it, but I'm smart enough to know. Hey, this guy is probably one of the 3 best receivers in football. Maybe I should put him out there
and throw him the ball.
And
if he's getting double covered, somebody's open.
If he's getting double covered in the end zone, throw him the ball anyway because he's like 6'9".
Yes,
go catch the ball, man. But the Falcons, not sure what that deal was. And then James, you see the James Conner performance yesterday.
James Conner,
Le'Veon Bell still holding out. How much longer do you think he holds out?
2 guys who had terrible days yesterday actually didn't play, but had terrible performances. And that's Le'Veon Bell and Jameis Winston. Both of those guys are watching the TV in utter horror yesterday.
Jameis is out because he was told to go away, but Le'Veon is out because he decided to sit at the house. After watching Conner yesterday, how long do you think he stays gone?
I think he's back this week.
You think this week?
Yep, I do. Maybe his pride makes him stay out one more week, but this will be the last week if it doesn't happen. And I'm telling you, now there's always a chance.
You're saying I should go and try to trade James Conner right now?
Oh, that's a tough one because you sure cleaned up yesterday, buddy. I remember when you drafted him, I was like, who?
I didn't draft him. I picked him up like 3 days ago.
It's one of those things where I'll say this: that's the worst position in football to hold out in. Running backs. Shanahan proved this out in Denver for years and years that if you have the right offensive line and the right system and a hole the size of a Volkswagen, you can run somebody through there for 4 yards. I don't think James Conner is going to keep having weeks like he had yesterday. Le'Veon Bell is an amazing physical specimen. And the thing I think Bell does give you is chunk yardage. He can bust one for 40, 50 yards.
Bell is going to give you 65, 70 catches a year, too. Conner's not.
But now you look at the Steelers and you look at how long the Rooney family's owned that team and how stable they are and how long Mike Tomlin's been there, and you look Mike Tomlin in the eye, I don't think Le'Veon Bell's going to get that dog to bark.
Well,
they'll stare him down.
Here's how this thing's going to ultimately end. It's going to ultimately end with Le'Veon Bell playing for somebody else next season. He's not going back to Pittsburgh next year. They're not going to cut him a check.
How do you think it ends this year? Or begins to end?
He'll come back. He has to play 6 games. They said he has to play 6 games to get a year of service time so that he could be a free agent next year. So I think he'll come back. I don't think he'll be back this week. I don't think he'll be back next week. But at some point, I'd say between weeks, 5 and 10, he'll come back. In the meantime,
Patriots.
Well, I don't know what their schedule is.
No, he'll be a Patriot.
Oh, next year
he'll be a Patriot next year.
Because they're not going to pay him either.
That's a good point. They're
not going to pay him either. He'll go somewhere. He'll go to the highest bidder. But in the meantime, I think James Conner will continue to basically do what he did yesterday.
Dolphins. He's a Dolphin next year.
But Conner would have been a first-round draft pick had he not gotten cancer when he was in college.
Yeah.
This guy is a stud, and he will be the next in the line of studs for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year.
It makes you mad, man. How do they? We can't. We have to go into a retirement home to find a running back. They just grow them on trees. Maybe that's why they're the Steelers and we're not.
Well,
and by we, I mean me and you.
Sure. Well, we'll start off up in Charlotte since 2 of the teams in our box played one another, actually. So
we love the box.
I love the box. I'm very grateful for the box. BG, talk me off the ledge here. Talk me off the ledge. The Dak Prescott struggles, the offensive struggles. I guess my question is it fair game now to criticize Prescott? Because I gave him a pass for a lot of last year with the Ezekiel Elliott drama, with the offensive line being banged up. I gave him a big-time major pass. And thus far in week 1, he has done nothing
Well, the one thing I will say about him is he has nobody to throw the ball to. I mean, we talked about that in the offseason. Michael Gallup without a catch yesterday. Without a catch. We joked about it, man, but I mean, when Cole Beasley is your primary target, I think Jason Witten really left this team hanging. I mean, I know he probably didn't plan it that way, but I think they might have drafted a tight end had they known.
We were trying to draft a tight end, and the Eagles jumped ahead of us to go there.
He wasn't the only tight end in the draft, but I think you need to be a little concerned. I think it's obvious a couple of things. One, you need to remember that the Panthers, for all the trash we've talked about them, all of the trash we have talked has been on one side of the ball. Am I right?
Yeah.
We've never denied that the Panthers have a nasty defense. And when they put 9 guys in the box, you're not running the football. I don't care who you have in the backfield. And so Dak needed to be able to throw the ball yesterday, and he just was not able to.
In Dak Prescott's rookie year.
We also need to remember that Dak was a 4th-round quarterback pick. I mean.
When Dak started off, in his first 22 games, including the playoff game, he threw for at least 180 yards. In his rookie season, it was routinely in the mid-200s, a couple of 300-yard games.
Yes.
The last 11 games that he's played, 7 of those 11 games he's been held under 180 yards.
Uh-huh.
We heard a lot this offseason about the Dak-friendly offense and building it more around him. If that's what you're going to do, he was sacked 6 times yesterday. They were 2 for 11 on 3rd down. Teams are stacking the box. Everybody's figured it out that Dak, and I use air quotes here, can't throw the ball, can't beat you with his arm. How about taking the reins off and start letting some of this offense take some shots downfield?
Well,
entirely too conservative. And to me, this was just one example of Red striking again.
We talked about this in session 1. You made the comparison. Well, I'm making the comparison, but you made a point about Jake Bentley for South Carolina receiving more criticism than maybe is due to him, and I think some of that is true for Dak also. The Cowboys have done nothing to give him weapons. You've lost Witten. You've lost Bryant. What have they done in free agency or the draft? Yeah, they drafted Michael Gallup, but, I mean, look, Dak has very few weapons right now. Very few. I mean, I think you guys can still win your fair share of games, but you're going to have to win ugly ones like you were in last night and find a way to get one more touchdown.
Tom Brady's don't just grow on trees. Aaron Rodgers don't just grow on trees. There has to be, and there is, more than one way to skin a cat, more than one way to play quarterback in the NFL and
let's
win
be
football
honest,
games.
And the way that people are playing in the NFL is changing rapidly because of college football anyway. I mean, you see option plays being run routinely in the NFL now. And I don't mean routinely as in like every other down, but I mean
it
happens in 75% of the games. There's at least a couple of run pass options or legitimate triple or double option run plays with the pitch at the last second. I mean, Dak can do that stuff.
Bottom line is they've got to get a little bit more creative. They stop being so one-dimensional. Because like I said, how many times watching the game Sunday did you look up and see Carolina have 8 guys in the box? Not because they know
almost
every play. They know that Dallas is not going to take a lot of shots downfield, and it's killing Dak Prescott.
And the Panthers are not more talented on offense to any real degree, but what you did see from the Panthers because of Norv Turner was a lot more creativity, and that's it. That was the difference in the game. They take a guy like Christian McCaffrey, and they're like, come hell or high water, we are getting you the football.
Yeah.
So you find a way to get the ball into the hands of the guys who can do damage.
Well, for the Panthers offensively, it was definitely the Cam and Christian show. And really, the difference to me was Cam Newton and his ability to run the football. Several times, like you said, they ran that read option stuff. And I know one time, particularly in the first half, they run it around the left side. Sean Lee, and this is,
Sean Lee had a rough game.
But some of this is bad coaching. When you play Cam Newton and the Panthers, you got to know that that's going to be part of the deal. And in the first half, early on, when you figure everybody is at their most honed in on the game plan, Sean Lee just kind of He lets himself get sucked into the middle of the field
several times.
Several times.
Well, and it was obvious too that he can't. You can't have him.
Garbage.
If you see Sean Lee and you're on the negative side of the 50 and he's on Christian McCaffrey, you better call a timeout. Because he can't handle that kid. And I don't know that there's many linebackers that can. But the difference, too, is that Cam, if you bring your safeties up to deal with their running back, Cam can throw the deep ball. And he does have better targets. I mean, for all you laugh about Devin Funchess, you guys don't have a Devin Funchess right now. You don't have a guy that can consistently get you 8 yards on a slant pattern. Somebody in the
we don't know because we haven't tried.
True enough. Somebody on the Cowboys receiving staff is going to have to step up. But again, let's remember this was a road game against a team that might be better than you and I think they are.
Maybe.
Okay, so the Panthers could still win this division. We don't often know how good these teams we lose to are. So it's week 1. We'll see.
Before I make a comment about the defenses, I just want to say, what did we say before the year? Who was going to lead the Cowboys in receiving?
I said Cole Beasley.
Cole Beasley, 7 catches for 73 yards. Yeah. By far better than any other receiver the Cowboys have.
I think they should go and sign Brenton Burson now that he's been cut. Line them up beside each other. No one will know which one is which. People will be so confused by 2 small blonde receivers lined up across from them.
That's a terrible idea. I don't want the Panthers. Unless the Panthers want to cut Christian McCaffrey, I don't want their leftovers.
Did you see anything, not as a Cowboys fan, but did you see anything from Carolina last night that makes you think this team's in better shape than we thought they were?
I thought defensively they were better than I thought they would be.
I'm concerned about. I mean, you're already seeing, their top offensive target, Greg Olsen, going off the field dinged up. You're already seeing Luke Kuechly leave the field dinged up. I don't like that in week 1 if I'm the Panthers. That really makes me think, because I think losing either one of those guys for extended amounts of time costs them football games.
Losing Greg Olsen, we saw it last year, is going to be a big blow to that offense. Now, if they get more creative with McCaffrey, they've got a few more receivers. I think they'll be all right. But defensively, I know Kuechly is always going to be subject to injury. That's just kind of the way he is and the way he plays and he's built. But that was a physical, nasty football game yesterday. Those guys, that was a man's game on the defensive side of the ball for both squads yesterday.
And I don't want to wish ill on him. I love to watch him play, man. But Christian McCaffrey is not built for 20 touches in an NFL game. That kid.
Well, they were talking about giving him 30. And they tried to get it to him 19 times. I think he had 16 touches, a couple extra receiving targets.
And he's done a good job of avoiding contact, but I don't know. He's a small guy.
Well,
but they need him right now.
Oh no,
they absolutely need him.
Like I said, it was the Cam and Christian show. He and Newton. That is their offense right now.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. Hopefully Greg Olsen can get back for him, but we'll see. I know it didn't look too promising with him standing over there on crutches Sunday.
It did not.
They said he hurt, I think it was the same foot. Ooh, not the same injury.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's all that stuff's connected together. I don't really like talking about feet. Let's move on.
I was going to say, the ankle bone's connected to the shin bone.
I don't.
Shin bone's connected to the knee bone.
Keep going. Were there any other games?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I think we're leaving one out.
Nothing else.
I think we're leaving one out. I'm pretty sure that Washington got on a plane, flew all the way across the country, and kicked somebody's tail.
You don't sit here and brag. Oh, the Redskins are
I told you.
Yeah.
I told you they were an 11-win team, man. What are you talking about? Didn't I pick them to win the East this year? No, wait. I know. I picked them to finish last. Okay,
the old man strike again, man. The old man get it done out there.
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson, 96 yards, a touchdown.
Adrian Peterson
70 receiving yards.
I was about to say, he had to be close to 100 yards receiving because
he had 70 receiving yards. Alex Smith doing Alex Smith things.
Alex Smith had the most classic Alex Smith stat line I've ever seen. At one point, he connected on 13 passes in a row, I think. No picks. I tweeted out yesterday, I looked at Cousins' stat line in Minnesota, and I said, Kirk Cousins had a great game. Alex Smith had a slightly better game. And I told you, man, all he's got to do is not turn the ball over.
No, that was
That's
basically quintessential.
Yes.
If you look up Alex Smith quarterback play in the dictionary, or that, you're going to get something like you got Sunday.
Defense looked good.
I thought the defense looked great.
They look smothering if they stay healthy. But here's my question: Did you also not think that Arizona's coaching staff and sideline looked like they didn't even know what was going on? That coaching staff looked completely unprepared for that game. I don't even know their head coach's name, man. He looked like a deer caught in headlights.
It's a Panthers.
I don't think there's a
Panthers Wilkes. It's a Panthers defensive coordinator.
I don't think there's any reason to learn his name, frankly, because I don't think he's going to be there more than about 2 years. But
they'll go to Josh Rosen at some point, and then he'll get a couple.
They're going to go to Josh Rosen. There's no question. They probably need to do it sooner rather than later. No, I mean, I'll be honest. It surprised me.
It is. You guys doubled Arizona up in total yards. You more than doubled them in first downs, and you basically doubled them in time of possession.
And this was not
that was a completely dominant performance. And you should be tooting you guys' horn right now, because I don't know that, I don't know if you'll be able to do it all year long, but at least for week one, I think you guys were clearly the most dominant looking team in the NFC East.
If Washington can run the ball the way they did yesterday, they're going to be a tough out. And that's the thing.
I wasn't right. I think that's a big ask, because we've seen Adrian Peterson in the last few years. This is not the Minnesota 2,100 yard Adrian Peterson.
To be fair, now 2 years ago, when he was still quote unquote AP, he was the third ranked fantasy player that year, because I remember I drew the number 3 and I drafted him. And even before he got hurt that year, I think in about week 3, he was getting nothing.
Right.
He was getting 2 yards a carry, 1 yard a carry. He was clearly not himself.
And that's what I'm saying. So the last few years, he hasn't been himself.
But he didn't start out that way either. That's what I'm saying.
He was in New Orleans. He gets traded to Arizona. The first 2 games of Arizona, he looks amazing. You're like, where has this guy been? And then he kind of tapered off, and I want to say eventually got hurt. So we've seen Peterson get a fresh start.
And they sure didn't hold off on using him either.
Oh, no. 26 carries?
Now, Rob Kelly got some carries. Chris Thompson got some carries. Chris Thompson had a nice touchdown. But again, those guys not nearly this durable. So it's pretty clear to me that Jay's going to ride him as long as that horse stays healthy.
Thompson and Rob Kelly, they get a combined 8 carries. Adrian Peterson, 26. So, Peterson is clearly the focal point of that offense right now. Now, whether or not at 92 years old he can continue to carry that load, we'll see. But if so,
report comes out today. Des Bryant still says this is the team he wants to play for, and Adam Schefter tweets out, but the Redskins do not want him. So, at some point, I don't know, maybe Des needs to put a suit on and see how he looks behind a desk talking about football. Nobody wants him, man.
I don't get it.
I don't either. It really surprised me when the Cleveland Browns did not take him.
Well, I think they would have taken. He just wouldn't take $5 million a year.
Okay.
They wanted him, and the last I heard was that they were going to go back and shake that tree again and see if maybe he had changed his mind. But I just don't get it, man. Like, okay, he's not Des. He's not Des Bryant. He may not be a 1,000-yard, 1,200-yard, 10 touchdown receiver anymore, but you're going to tell me that he can't help a football team? And he's still sitting there, man.
Now,
I told you, I don't think he'll play this year. I don't think anybody will sign him. I said it weeks ago. I think there's a good chance that he may not ever play again.
If he doesn't play this year, I think that chance is.
That's what happened with Colin Kaepernick. He sat out and go,
it's a slightly different situation.
Well, but he passed on chances. Kaepernick had chances to come back into the league. He wouldn't play for what some teams were offering him, and he sat out the year. And after that, basically, he's gotten almost nothing in the way of offers. And I think Des Bryant is going down that same road. And the more he criticizes, the more he opens his mouth and criticizes the Cowboys, the less likely other teams are to want to bring a guy like that into their locker room. He's shooting himself in the foot.
Just real quick, jumping back to the Washington Arizona game, the one thing I did like, Arizona, the fact that David Johnson got nothing.
He got nothing.
And he could not. He had a couple of decent carries later in the second half.
This is one of the best running backs in football, and you guys' defense basically made Arizona just completely abandon him.
Much like the Georgia-South Carolina game from segment 1, I felt like our defensive line beat them off the snap. Ryan Kerrigan had himself a game. There was a lot of pressure on the running game, not so much on Bradford. We did get some sacks, but it was mostly coverage sacks. I felt like Norman played a really good game. I felt like Sam Bradford had nowhere to go downfield. And, I really liked an interview I saw with DJ Swearinger, and he's one of my favorite guys because he's also a Gamecock. Now he's a Redskin. That doesn't happen too often. But somebody asked him a couple of days ago, are you upset about the lack of press you guys are getting? Everybody's picking you to finish last. He goes, they should be picking us to finish last. Why wouldn't they pick us to finish last? We shouldn't be getting any press. We need to go out there and hit somebody in the mouth and get our own press. And I think that's exactly the right team attitude for any NFL team to have. But we talked about this. I mean, this division flips all the time. It wouldn't shock me to see the Redskins win this division.
No, it wouldn't shock me to see any one of us.
The only team it would shock me to see win the division is the Eagles, because that just doesn't happen. Not in the East.
Not lately.
That being said, an improved Colts team coming into RFK 2.0 this week. Andrew Luck looked good.
Well, I was going to say he did.
He looked good.
The Colts defense leaves a little to be desired. I think that certainly gives you guys the chance, and we'll
obviously be a minute. Another thing I thought was really cool. Apparently, like a third of the seats in Arizona were Redskins fans. That's a heck of a long way to be getting on an air.
I know when Dallas goes out there, it's a lot of Cowboys fans.
Little different, little closer.
It's a lot closer, but that is a little surprising.
The Redskins, though, one of those teams that really does have a sleeping giant fan base. There are still a lot of guys that remember all those great Super Bowls in the 80s. They're not all dead yet. We've talked about this. Cowboys, the most valuable team in the NFL. The Redskins, a close second. We've seen the dollar comparisons over and over. What is that for? What is that?
No reason.
Just because I'm talking about the Redskins? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you thinking about Dak?
Why you got to go there? Why you got to just
because you started it.
Jab in the room, man.
Anyway, I'll say this too. Those uniforms we had on yesterday, I wish we wore those for the next 15 games.
Oh, no.
That should be the Redskin outfit. Shut up, man. No, I didn't. That's not the same as saying I don't like the gold pants.
You have to wear the yellow pants.
They're not yellow.
Have to
gold,
look like
and gold.
Have to look like a bottle of mustard.
At least we know what color our pants are. Nobody knows what color those things you guys wear are.
It's a metallic silver.
No, I'm talking about the other ones.
That's it.
No, they look blue. Everybody knows it. They look blue.
Oh, blue, man. They look green.
They look bluish green. They're weird.
Is this gonna be like the dress thing? Is it black or blue or whatever that was?
No, this is like, is it stupid or not? And everybody says yes.
I'll give you that. I don't know what to do with those pants. They're
weird. They're a weird
color.
They're
a little weird.
Now, here's my question.
They're not blue.
It's weird, though, because you have two different colored pants, and you would think they would be the same color.
Well, we have two different colored blues. Like our blues on the white uniforms are like a blue. And then
have you ever noticed, does it bother you that everybody's helmet is a different color from their jersey? You'll really notice it with the Vikings. That drives me crazy. Yes. I hate that. What is that?
I don't know.
All right, we can agree on that.
No, I agree with you. I've always
give me something that surprised you in the NFL this week, and I'm going to give you permission to go outside the box here.
Outside the box, well, you kind of hit on it to start with. Is Fitzpatrick and the Bucs? I mean, that was a game in New Orleans. New Orleans, everyone. Well, not everyone, but they were a popular Super Bowl pick. They've got, what do you say, 2 more years of Drew Brees.
That sounds about right. Well, unless they win the Super Bowl this year, then he says he's done.
Yeah, they've got a small, in any case, they've got a small window left with Drew Brees.
Imagine how frustrating it is to go throw the yardage he threw for yesterday and lose. And I mean, not just lose, but lose.
Tampa has been basically a dumpster fire for the last couple of years down there. They're talking maybe throwing the towel in on the whole Jameis Winston situation and just moving on.
Like it's getting
for them to come out and hang 48 points, to beat New Orleans in a shootout in New Orleans. The most points ever in a football game in Week 1 in the history of the NFL. To me, good luck finding anything more surprising than that.
Is it maybe because Ryan Fitzpatrick is the perfect quarterback to have go into the vacuum of leadership that Jameis has left down there? I mean, like, he's been there, done that. You're not going to rattle him. No, he's never going to have another game like this. I tweeted out, you probably saw it yesterday, all the guys that are calling for South Carolina to fire Muschamp and everybody on their staff are the same people that are going to go out and sign Ryan Fitzpatrick to their fantasy team because they just assume that one game must mean a lot.
That's really a thing. Like,
oh yeah,
they really want to.
There are guys that want to fire the media people that are making the movies about changing the uniforms every week because that's why we lost, because we changed our uniforms.
I will say that, and this is off topic. Get rid of those stupid helmets, man. Either, and this is. I guess we should have covered this in the last episode.
It didn't come up.
Look, man, if you want to go to the script, okay, that's fine. Then take it off. Take the block Carolina off the front of your jersey because it looks ridiculous.
I think that's the least of our worries.
No,
whatever.
No,
it's all fine.
If you had gone full in one way or the other, we'd be sitting here today in the first episode we did today talking about the massive win in Columbia for the Gamecocks.
You're a fool.
You wore those silly helmets and
ask me what surprised me this week in the NFL, TanMan.
BG, what surprised you this week in the NFL?
I'm going to go with last night's game, even though they ended up losing. I was really surprised by the Chicago Bears, man. I thought what you said told me. What'd you tell me?
I took the Bears in the points last night. So I said that would be.
Is that one of the ones you beat me on?
That's one of the ones I beat you.
I thought the Bears looked fun. And here's a really good question. When's the last time the Bears had a good quarterback? Don't give me Rex Grossman. When's the last time the Bears had a good quarterback? I mean, who was it?
Jim McMahon.
I mean, really? Like, that's what... And Jim McMahon was an okay quarterback.
Well,
he had a really good defense.
I think there's a chance Trubisky is an okay quarterback, and if he can be slightly better than okay... Did you see Khalil Mack last night?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he's a scary dude.
Oh, my goodness.
And that defense was already the 10th best defense in the NFL.
Yes.
Like, they're not giving up much. And I tell you.
In other news,
Aaron Rodgers, he may be hurt. Like, it's a partial tear.
I haven't heard. What did they come out and say?
Partial. It's either ACL or MCL, but it's partial. And I don't know. I mean, that could be 5% torn, 1% torn, or 95%. But I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Have they said anything about how long he'll be out?
Not the last time I checked, right before the show went on air.
I hadn't seen it. I've been wondering all day what the outcome of that would be. But never. Let's say
you feel like that whole division's about to flip.
Well,
you feel like
I said we'll get on
my
that.
buddy
here in
Nick
a minute.
He's listening up in Wisconsin, and I'm sorry, Nick, but I feel like the Packers. They're in the sunset of their. I picked them to win the Super Bowl last year, and I think they very well might have if Rodgers had stayed healthy. But that's becoming a scary if. And Minnesota's coming on strong, and I don't feel like the Bears are far behind them.
They traded for Deshaun Kaiser, right?
Yeah,
isn't that a thing?
That's not a good thing.
That's not a thing.
Yeah.
Let's do some picks, BG.
All right,
let's do some picks.
Let's do it.
Panthers at the Falcons. An NFC South rivalry, the Falcons trying to get back on some sort of track offensively. They're getting 5 at home against the Carolina Panthers.
I'm going to go with the Falcons in this. I think this is maybe a low-scoring game. I mean, one thing nobody talks about is Atlanta's defense. It's not shabby, and I just don't think the Panthers are going to score a lot of points in this game. Falcons have something to prove. I don't see them going 0-2.
I agree with you. I think I'll take the Falcons in the points. You just said 0-2. This division is one kind of like the NFC East where everybody kind of flips around a lot. Going 0-2, it would almost seem like the Falcons would be on kind of a downhill slide. I think they're much better.
I think there's a really good chance everybody in that division's 1-1 next week.
Yeah. We just talked a little bit about it. NFC North, the Vikings at the Packers. One of, in my opinion, the most interesting games of the day. The other one is also on the list.
Who knows if this spread actually holds up?
I was going to say Vikings at Packers. Right now, Vegas had the Packers as a 1-point favorite. I don't need the points. I don't need to know anything else. I think Minnesota is hands down the best team in that division, maybe with Aaron Rodgers. Give me Minnesota going into Green Bay.
Yeah, I take the Vikings straight up. I think they're a touchdown win here.
Without Aaron Rodgers, it'll be more than a touchdown. Colts at the Redskins. Redskins, we talked about it. They look great. They're getting 5.5 points this week. Where you going, man?
I think the Redskins have an excellent chance to win the game. I'm going to take the Colts to cover the spread, though. I think it's a close one.
Give me the Redskins.
Okay.
I took them last week. I'll take them again this week. Give me the Redskins to cover the 5.5.
This points thing's throwing me off a little. I'm used to just, I like it. It mixes it up a little bit.
We got to stay in the box.
I got you
in the box.
Yep.
As I make the box with my hands, but you can't see it out there.
You picking the Redskins to win straight up? You think the Redskins win this football game?
Yes.
Well, obviously you do. If
yes,
you're taking points.
I think the Redskins win this one straight up.
Give me a score in this one. What do you think? What do you see? 24-17?
Well, I was going to say, 24-17, 21-14, something like that. Next up, this one is one that I think may be the most interesting game
on
the list. Rematch of the AFC title game.
That the Jaguars should have won.
They should have won. They get the 4:25 main prime slot in the afternoon. The Jaguars getting 1.5 points. They look good. Last week they went to New York, got the win over the Giants. Fournette went out, pulled a hamstring. He says he's going to play. I want to say Jaguars, but give me the Patriots. I'll give the points. I'll give the 1.5. Patriots win by more than a touchdown. I think they go out. I think they've heard all off season how Jacksonville should have beat them, and the Jaguars should have done this and should have done that. I think Brady goes out there with something to prove, and they beat the Jags by more than a touchdown.
I'm going to take the Jaguars.
I want to, man. I want this to be awesome.
I think all that you're saying is true. I just think the Jaguars whip them up front defensively, and they give New England all they want and some more. And we know, man, Brady does not deal with pressure, especially up the middle, and it's coming. They can't block those guys. They cannot.
I hope that game is
That being said, did anybody miss Matt Patricia? No. They made Deshaun Watson look like us. And I don't think
it was terrible.
I think a lot of that was just scheme. I think they watched film on him, and Bill Belichick versus a film room. Give me Bill Belichick, man. Yeah. That's. Unfortunately, here he's not trying to stop their offense. It's their defense he's going to have trouble with.
Last game on the list, the Sunday night. Every year we play the Giants on a Sunday night at some point. This year it's week 2. Giants at the Cowboys. Cowboys a 3-point favorite at home.
The Giants, Saquon Barkley looked great. We didn't talk about this at all, but Eli Manning and the rest of that offense looked just as pathetic as they did last year.
Except for Odell Beckham.
Well, Odell Beckham just makes his own thing happen.
I think the Cowboys bounce back. I think they get the win straight up on this one. They're not going to go 0-2.
I agree. I agree. I'll take the Cowboys in the points. I say about a 4-point win here.
Yeah, it's always close, man, but give me the Cowboys. That will do it for this episode. We want to ask you to help our little show keep growing. Like and share our post on Facebook and Twitter. You can follow us at The Border War. You can follow me at TanMan3264. My man, BG, on the left is at BG_Border War. Once you get done with here, don't turn your radio on. Go over to StadiumScene.tv. Find you another podcast to listen to. Download some of their stuff after you download ours, of course. And completely check out on the radio. We're done with that mess. Get your picks in. I forgot to say that. Make your picks.
It won't be hard to beat us.
Maybe you. I did pretty good last
You're better
week.
than average. That's all you are for one week.